I believe it was since Assassin's Creed 3 that people wanted a game that takes place in Japan. And no wonder, I mean, look at the architecture. Look how cool it is to do a little bit of parkour on these buildings. And not to mention, like, back then, Assassin's Creed was actually more historical. So people wanted to learn more about Japanese culture. And I think after 10 years, after seeing how popular Ghost of Tsushima was, and how much people absolutely loved it, because it did try to get a lot of inspiration from samurai movies, and it did try to respectfully recreate a sort of like fictional world, but with a lot of influences from Japanese folklore, and people adore that. Finally, Ubisoft is like, okay, well, maybe there is something there. Let's do it. But they just can't help themselves. Like literally, because I don't know why, but it's impossible for them to help themselves without going to the Panderverse. Like, they literally have no faith whatsoever in their product. That they're like, you know what would sell? Put a black guy on the box. I mean, how can you sell without a black guy on the box? Like, the gamers will not buy it. And if anyone complains, we call them a racist, and we use that talking point in order to market our game. Because everyone is going to talk about that, it's going to generate buzz, it's going to get the game trending, and that's how people will realize that, hey, by the way, that Assassin's Creed you always wanted, yeah, we're making it now. And I'm thinking, like, is it racist, though? Like, is it racist? So I went past your Assassin's Creed that took place in London. I went past your Assassin's Creed with the Vikings. And I want your Japanese shit. Like finally, like, I no European, no American, like, Japanese stuff. Yes, Japanese. How am I racist? Like, I'm literally, like, wanting you to give me some authentic diversity. The thing is, like, if they would have said this in Africa, and it would have been a story around Shaka Zulu, or some African folklore and mythos, or anything like that, that would have been perfect. I would have unironically bought the game. Like, if you manage to make an Assassin's Creed in Africa, and you're treating it respectfully, and you're showing me the authenticity of that culture, that would be great. But they don't want to, and I genuinely, like, do not understand why Hollywood is so terrified of going with African culture. Like, on one hand, they want diversity, and by diversity, like, for some reason, I don't know why, it's like race-swapping characters, or, you know, doing something like this. And many people will say, well, yeah, but this is historically authentic. I've seen a lot of historians doubt it. But even then, it's like, it's a small historical character, right? Like, Japan has so much lore and history that it boggles the mind why you wouldn't just do something authentic. And you have to Panderverse it. You have to Americanize it. You gotta do the current daying. Because we know that's the reason, right? Like, they didn't think, oh, this is such a great story to tell. No, they actually went, all right, well, we need to Panderverse it. Can you find a story that fits our Panderverse? I have people on the inside. I know this is how the conversation actually went. And the reason they're doing it is also something that I know, is they want the controversy. Like, they want people to complain on Twitter. That's the whole reason why they're doing it. And it saddens me because, first of all, you could have actually made the story in Africa. And I generally, like, want some African folklore. I generally want to learn more about African mythology, because there's a lot of cool stories to be shared. But they flat out refuse. They just do not want to do it. I don't know why. I guess it takes too much work. I guess you actually need to hire some experts that go into that. And they don't know if it's going to be successful or not. Because this is what AAA is nowadays. It's like, unless they know for sure that it's safe, unless they know for sure that it buys, then they don't care. So like, outrage marketing is what they know. And they're going to push it, right? So it's like a game that takes place in feudal Japan with a female character and apparently a black samurai. It's like, literally what people wanted to move away from. You know, like, people wanted authenticity. Like, medieval Japan is a cruel and brutal place. If you watch The Kingdom on Netflix, that one takes place in South Korea. But you get to see the absolute brutality and the class difference between the nobility and the peasantry. And it makes for such an interesting setting, because all of a sudden you wonder, like, how is the hero going to manage to navigate this? And finally, when you see a noble that's different, it makes it for an interesting character. There's a reason why these historical things sell. This isn't it, Chief. Like, I'm sorry, this isn't it. Um, and I will tell you the problem with the Black Samurai, right? And apparently, there's a lot of historians that seem to disagree that he was a samurai. He was a bodyguard in Oda Nobunaga's service, and that would make sense. But the thing, like, a samurai is not a profession. It's not necessarily a job. It's kind of like the nobility in Europe. Like, you have to be born into it. I mean, the peasants in that land very rarely, if ever, manage to ascend to the rank of nobles. There is a clear class distinction. It's something that the modern brain doesn't really get. Like, even now when we talk about our betters and you talk about a politician, the difference between you and politician exists, but it's still not compared to the difference that they would look at a peasant from the perspective of a noble. Like, a samurai could just decapitate a peasant for insulting him. Like, imagine that now. You know, you go to a politician, you go to Justin Trudeau, you insult him, and he just executes you on the spot. Like that's the thing we're talking about. And in order to be a samurai, you had to be in that family. Like, it was a blood thing. It wasn't just like, you know, you joined Microsoft and now you're part of the Microsoft family, right? It wasn't like an honorary title that you can go in and get in Britain right now. It's like, okay, well, the queen knights you and then you become like the knight of the kingdom. It's not like that, right? So it's quite doubtful that this is the case. And unironically, like, Ubisoft has done this in the past. The reason that really upsets me is that in the past, they actually had a team of historians that would go through history and try to make, like, the most accurate and authentic place. And then they would wonder, it's like, okay, well, how can we fit this into our story? And they would be like, okay, so this guy died, but what if, like, he didn't die the way history made it? Like, what if he got assassinated? And that's how, like, the first 2 Assassin's Creeds were made. I would say even 3. But then you notice that they move away from that and they start adding more and more fiction and current daying and pandering up until you get to the point with Assassin's Creed London where there is a character that in history, she was a woman, but she pretended to be a man because she wanted to run her business. And in order not to have other people disconsider her for being a woman, she would present herself as a man. Naturally, Ubisoft makes her transgender. For no reason whatsoever. Like, historically, she wasn't transgender. There's no evidence of that. It's not adding anything to the game. It's not, you know, like, trying to like, create a scenario where it would be believed. No, it's just like, it's pandering, is what it is. And it's meant to generate people getting upset on social media so that they do outrage marketing. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.